Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very interesting video, a type of video that I have not done in a long, long time. But with the new World of Warcraft season coming around, I figured I would make a tier list, right? Everybody kind of makes tier lists for things all the time. Well, my tier list format's a little different. See, we're not going to make a tier list based off of what's performing super well in the raid testing right now, because that's what's going on right now. There's the heroic raid testing for the next raid. No, no, no. No, I am doing something that I value far more importantly, and that is Transmog. How your character is going to look for the rest of the tier. Now, obviously, most of the time, I'm a full set handy, so we're not going to look at things that look like a good combination, but we'll mention a couple of things every now and again involving good combinations. But without further ado, we're going to go over this I guess with just me here today to do a video on the upcoming transmogs. And there's quite a few transmogs in for this season. We were already looking at some of the World Quest gear, but we're going to go ahead and take a peek into our first one. We're starting at the top with the warrior set, and we're using female night elf as our baseline model. Now, the biggest thing about the warrior set that I think is the most important thing is that it is a very flowy set, in the sense that there's all this free-flowing graphics flying around it. In the sense, you've got the helmet with the 3 chains, you've got your chain corners here on the side with the flowy belt as well. I really like sets that are flowy, but I'm also a big sucker for spiked gear. Now, obviously, the other thing I want to point out about this video is that it is solely opinionated. Obviously, you can say that one set looks better than the other one, and I won't argue against it. But it's safe to assume that most of them are pretty high up there in good-looking sets. But let's go ahead and start off with the Warrior 1. A lot of people were saying this one is very close to another Tomb of Sargeras-like set, due to the fact that its modeling type is very Tomb of Sargeras formatted, because it's a spiky piece of armor, and so is Tomb of Sargeras. So the big thing that I like about it, though, is that the particle effects for the what is it called? I just call it the particle effect token that you get for getting 3K. It activates your nice little particle effects that beam off of the side of the shoulders, as well as it gives your chains on the back a little bit more definition. Because as you can see here with just the heroic version, there's less definition to the chains. And the warrior dreads are amazing for the back. So I think the dreads are super nice. I like the warrior set a lot, but the big thing about this one is that the purple is like an okay color scheme. It's like purple is a really big thing for World of Warcraft. Players like this purple color scheme, purple and pink highlight. Then you have your heroic one, which is also a very clean one. You have your steel on blue, very clean one with that, with your now very fell-like looking version with your bronze and probably light purple on green. And then you have your green on bronze on gold, more or less. But the big one I wanted to point out in particular is not the baseline gladiator one, which is kind of a repeat of the LFR one, just a slightly different color scheme change. But the elite gladiator one is most likely the best set for the warrior set of this expansion. Now, obviously, the warrior sets have been pretty alright, but this one definitely takes the cake because of the definition of the red on black. It blends in perfectly because it's steel black on straight black, or more like a matte black onto just crimson red, and it works extremely well. So as you can see here in the top right, we also have this tier list here. Now the big thing is I couldn't find a tier list that were just the warrior ones. They're just like each class, so we have all the specs here. What we're gonna do is, I personally think, while the warrior one isn't super high definition, I still think it's a solid A. So we're going to put the warrior one in the solid A because of the fact that while it's simplistic, it does have good definitions. And the problem is that the PvP one is the best looking one overall. But let's go ahead and jump into the paladin one. And the paladin one, I have already taken a good mean glance at because I've been doing testing on PTR as paladin. But the paladin sets go crazy because the particle effects that come from the mythic set make it look, every set looks amazing with it. And I want to keep in mind that while Blizzard really likes going down this purple color scheme for a lot of the sets, we have just the purple scheme here that definitely suits overall for each color, for each class. Not all of them are purple either. Like, this is still very purple-like, but it's also just like blue steel. And that's why this Paladin set, I think, is also another one of the better Paladin sets of this expansion. It seems like the last tiers are usually the best. Then we have another very Sunwell Plateau kind of looking color scheme going on here for the Heroic set. Normal set, you look like Stormwind Guard, but with particle effects. In your LFR set, very typical green on blue with purple overtone. And then into the Elite one, because that's the one I was looking at earlier. The Elite Paladin set actually is insanely looking. But in truth, it is not the Elite set that is actually the best looking one. It is the baseline Gladiator solid white Paladin set. This has to be, in my opinion, the best Paladin transmog of this expansion. Because this is such a clean and well cut out set in terms of the definition. Because it is 2 different shades of white with gold trim. And I'm a big sucker for gold. So, in my opinion, red is definitely an S, but we're not going to put anything quite in S quite yet. Because we're going to go back over everything at the end and move anything up into S afterwards. Next, we have Hunter. I don't really need to review it, because I think the Hunter set is the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't think the Hunter dev put any work into the Hunter set, because as you can see here, with the difference between the Heroic one, look at how colorful it is, but like there's nothing really going on, into the Mythic one, there's no definition. There's absolutely no definition between the two, because the only difference between it for the particle effects is that the gems glow, and then it's literally a cloth set. It is almost entirely a cloth set. Yes, Hunter very much got fucked again. So Hunter is like mega dog do F. Like literally, like we have to put all the Hunter specs down here because it's just major dog do F. Next is the Rogue set. Now the Rogue set's not super interesting either. However, the color schemes for the Rogue sets look nice. You go to the normal Mana Forge set, it's a very good black on matte, like sort of matte purple to not purple, blue, with a good steel undertone. So I think that the normal set is what's carrying it, because the Heroic set is just a little bit too bright for a Rogue. It's too like out there. And then the Mythic set is actually, in my opinion, an exact repeat of a set from set from Warlords of Draenor. That let's see, can I find it? It looks like this set is the problem. It looks too close to this set. And that's the thing that's making me think, okay, this isn't actually super creative, because it looks very, very close to this set here. At least for the Mythic one. Now, the Elite one looks pretty good as well, but once again, the all Gladiator base Y actually is pronounced like that. Gross. But oh well. Flat. Gross. But anyway, though, I do think that the Rogue one for the baseline Gladiator Rogue is probably the best color scheme. Because, once again, it's another just all white with blue shade and then just more white. So, I think that the Rogue one is pretty good, but it's not quite good enough. I think we're going to have to put Rogue in the C. It's not super creative, but it's very, like, clean. Not super creative. Next, we have the Priest set. And it seems like Priests, every single tier, I don't know who the designers are for the Rogue, or for the Priest sets. But, like, they're doing a good job. This is a very, very clean, very well-cut Priest set. Because, like, the definitions on it are really, really nice. I don't think it is an S. It is definitely, like, a good A to a B. And the only reason I say that it's a B is because it also still has, it's a little bit too close to the Warlock kind of thing. Because, you know, Warlock is all, like, tentacly and stuff like that. This one is still kind of like that with the shoulders. You can see on the definition is basically like the, it is the Tomb of Sargeras, or not Tomb of Sargeras. It's the Antorus shoulders for, no, it is Tomb of Sargeras. It's the Antorus shoulders for Warlock, basically. but it's just a little bit too technically for me. But however, they do have one of the better elite sets once again, with the just very bloody red theme. But again, that's just not really a preset. I think it is a solid A overall, but at the same time, there are parts where I could see, with depending on the certain ones you look at, like this purple one isn't a really super great color scheme, but then you go to the elite one and then you go to the mythic one, and both of them are very pristine. I do think that priest deserves an A. Next, we have the Death Knight one. Now, the Death Knight one, it probably looks better on a model that's a little bit more bulky, because Death Knights historically have always been a very bulky model type character class. And the thing is that the Death Knight one, it just seems super unoriginal, because it's just, there's nothing really super defining on the chest, on the arms, on the legs, or the boots, and the shoulders are very closed off gargoyles. Like, it's just not open enough, more or less. So we're seeing this here with the shoulders, like, there's no color definition outside of just you're bleeding from the shoulders and you're bleeding from the eyes. The helmet outside of that has no other color definition. There are some little particle effects you can see here on the top of the helmet in comparison to the heroic version, where you see, or any other version, where there's no real difference to the helmet. Additionally, it looks like the bleeding eyes are across all versions of the set here. So really, the only thing you're getting is the particle flare coming from the shoulders and the particle flares coming from the helmet. I feel like the Death Knight one is probably just another C, if not close to a D, because there's just no real definition to the set, is the problem. There's nothing really like bursting out. Yeah, if the shoulders moved, if the shoulders had any animation, I think it would be better. But I do think, I hate to say it, I think the DK one does belong in D. I believe that the Rogue one is slightly better than the DK one, solely because, like, the Rogue one has better color definition than the Death Knight one, in my opinion. Obviously, everything is my opinion. All right, so obviously we can't fully look at the Shaman one, because for some reason the shoulders from Mythic are not showing up here on the set thing. What we could do actually is just go here, go into Shaman. Let's see. Shoulder. Was that not a thing anymore? There has to be an open shoulder piece, right? There it is. Okay, that's the Shaman shoulder. All right, looking at this here for the Mythic Shaman shoulders and Mythic Shaman. Overall, the Shaman's not super bad looking. I like the fact that they've gone back to the very you're the Shaman of the Claw kind of build in the terms of the Transmog. But once again, it's just another set that doesn't really have good definition outside of your primary parts of the set. The helmet is nice. They have the back flare coming off. This is a very good repeat, I'd say, of the Shadowlands, not Shadowlands, another Dragonflight set, actually, from Season 2 that looks very close to this one. Not Admiral, but kind of close to Admiral. But it's more like... No, okay, it was Season 1. No, it wasn't Dragonflight. Was it? Might have been the War Within set. Well, okay, so the War Within had the plume. So the plume set, the plume part it might have actually been Shadowlands. I might be deep capping myself here. Is that Season 3 Shadow? Oh, kind of close. Okay, I was trying to compare it to something, but I can't remember where it was. But if we go here, the set looks pretty good overall. I would say the Mythic color scheme is probably the worst color scheme, because all these other versions of the set look extremely pristine. I think the color scheme for the Shaman on normal is very clean, is very well cut, and especially since Shamans have the different, well, what's it called? Their transformation form, whatever it's called. Holy crap, how can I not remember it? Everybody, they love that spell. I think that the Shaman set is definitely a very solid B because of the color definitions on the other versions of the set, as well as the Elite version having one of the better bloody-like color schemes. But once again, The Gladiator's color scheme seems like it's the best fit overall for a shaman. It has the very blue color set. On top of the fact that this just does look like a better version of the Mythic one. The Mythic one's a little bit too purple, while the baseline Gladiator is just blue and just sharp enough that it has a good enough color scheme to fit the whole entire set as a whole. So we're going to put Shaman in a solid B. Next, we're going to go into the Mage set. Now, the Mage set, we took up... Well, okay, full disclosure, we did take a peek at every set before this, but I didn't go into this amount of detail. I think every single Mage set, in terms of the color definition, is pristine. That being said, the design of the sets themselves are a little off par, because at the same time, we're still doing nothing with this lower area here as a mage. It's better that we're sticking with the battle kilt instead of going into like the weird legs that people like to do sometimes with sets. I think that the color definition as well as like the color trim on most of the mage sets are good, excluding the heroic one, because it seems like the purple just goes in too much with the rest of the purple on the set. But outside of that, every other little bit that is just that little shine, that little cut to it, is really good. And then going into the Elite PvP set, it's the Firelands set. However, the Gladiator set the baseline Glad set is what grabs the attention the most, as this is a very, very Legion heavy looking version of the Mog. And I think that this part, with the particle effects that come from the Elite version, which looks like it's just shinier orbs, I'm not entirely sure what the particle difference is going to be. This could be... Oh, hang on. I think I saw it. Yeah, so the orbs are more pulsating, and the hood, the hat has more particle effects underneath. Yeah, it looks like that's the case there, as well as a... Let's see. Yeah, you can see that the hat is doing a little whirl there, while it's not doing a whirl here. And the shoulders have a little bit of upper flame particle effects, which they're not doing here. So I think with this set and the Mythic Transmog token that turns on their particle effects for every set, this is probably the Mage winning set. And I will put Mage at an A for this one. I don't think it's quite an S. The problem is, I don't think any of the sets this tier are an S, personally. I don't think a single set this tier is close to an S. The only one I would consider is actually the Paladin and the Warrior one. But we're not going to put anything in S quite yet until we go over everything completely, because the only one I think is remotely close to an S is actually the Warlock set. Because what we're going to do, I'm putting it in the S already. I think that Warlock set actually has the best transmog of the season. I think that this is hands down the best transmog for Warlock they've had in a long time. Every single set has extremely defined color definition, as well as just a very clean particle effect density for the rest of the set in its entirety. And like I said before with the Mage set, most people and most designers aren't doing anything with this lower half. And you see on the Warlock one, they are doing something with this lower half. They're imbuing runes to the bottom of the lower half, which gives that lower half of a set more definition. The Warlock also has a book to the side, which is more definition to the set. If we go back to the Mage one in comparison, you see that the Mage one is just the kilt and shoulders with an open kilt instead. I think the Warlock one is hands down the S tier of the season, because of the fact that everything about the Warlock set has pristine definition across every single portion of the set, including the helmet all the way to the legs. Obviously, we can't see the boots, but most people aren't going to see the boots anyway. I think Warlock, hands down, is the S winner, the breadwinner of the whole entire season. And this is likely going to be me saying, I'm going to try to get every single color scheme of the Warlock Transmog and use it for the rest of time. Because this is hands down the best Warlock Mog we've had in an extremely long time. Even the baseline Gladiator set, while it's not the best overall color scheme and a lot of colors seem to be clashing with the set, visually, it hands down is one of the better looking sets, in my opinion, for Warlock in a really, really long time. I think the last one I actually genuinely praised that it looked good was all the way back in Pandaria, which is the Shaw set. And this one takes the cake. I think that this set is hands down the S tier of the season, the breadwinner, the number one. Next, we go into the more disappointing side, the Monk one, which is another set that seemed like Monk just kind of got ripped off once again. It's another season where, because for some reason Blizzard is trying to stray away from giving Monk to have a bunch of fucking balls around their neck or on their shoulders, They just don't want to keep on giving them good-looking sets. And once again, they just hit Monk with another hammer and said, "Hey, we're gonna just put your set together with a with a Mod Podge of whatever we found in the basement." And overall, the Monk set, not super great. The helmet is probably the worst thing about the set because it's just a face mask that's not even a full mask. But it does look like, according at least to the Mythic and the Heroic differences between the two, your particle effects are going to be coming from your shoulders and your gloves and possibly your legs. Nope. Just your shoulders and the gloves. I think that this goes into the E set. It's not at the level where the DK is, and it's not unusable like the Warrior, like the Hunter one. Because at the same time, these parts are good. This part is terrible. This part doesn't do anything. This is a tabard. This chest piece is literally the tabard from the Light's Hammer. It's the Light's Hammer tabard. And then the legs are just not creative. In fact, there's little parts in the legs that aren't even done. I think that the best parts of the set is the shoulder and the gloves, and that means that there's still a part that's usable, where the Hunter one had nothing usable whatsoever. So we're definitely going to put this one in E. Following that, though, we're going to go straight over to the Druid one. We're on a Druid already, so it works out pretty good. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but now the models are animated when you're looking at the Transmogs in the Transmog screen. Now, let's go straight into the LFR one. The LFR one has a weak little color scheme. Something I don't like about helmets like this is that for some reason, Blizzard really likes doing the half head and half knot on the other side of the helmet. I hate that. I hate that with a divine passion. I like it if the helmet is the full design. This might be a no helmet black sunglasses build, but at the same time, the headdress is really nice. The shoulders I like a lot, as well as the definition for the rest of the Druid set. The biggest thing I want to point out, which I looked at across the board for all the sets, is that you will get tattoos no matter what class you are. Using this Druid set, you will have tattoos right here, because that is the baseline Mog of the set. Every Druid player, every female Druid player, and their mother are so happy to finally have open stomach tattoos, because there's just nothing in that terms of color definition available for people to look at. So I think that this is a set that people are going to be very happy with. It's not like an A, and it's not a C. I'm definitely putting it with a solid B, because it's not like the craziest, but it's also a pretty good looking one. We're going to give it the bear icon. I think that Druid is very easily a B, because the one I want to bounce over to, actually, it's not the baseline Gladiator color scheme, but the Elite color scheme is incredibly likely an easy B. This is what gives the set a B, because of the fact this Druid set is well defined in the Mythic version of the Elite version coloration over the Mythic version. The Mythic version is just a little bit too bright for me. It feels like it has its colors kind of bursting at you, like just showing you, hey, I got a shiny set on. Obviously, most Druids are not going to see them wearing this one. Most of them are either going to be in the Firebird version of Boomkin, or they'll be in Celestial form. So a bright set doesn't really give you too much definition, while the Elite set, being a more darker overtone with an easy red trim, is going to give you a lot more definition. And it's going to stand out, I think, significantly more over the other variations of the set. All right. Now the one I've actually been looking forward to the most as an old Demon Hunter player myself. The only reason I'm on this Heroic one is because there is a Demon Hunter PvP set that occurred in Dragonflight Season 3 and 4 that is this exact color scheme that can now combine with that previous one, and you can now have lava feet, lava head, and lava hands. So I think that this set is going to be really good with an easy combination. I think that outside of that, though, the Demon Hunter set is very lackluster. It seems like it's just kind of here, more or less. It is a good set. I will still state that I like the demon horns, but they went with horns with everything. You got horns on your shoulders. You got horns on your head. You have technical horns on your hands, more or less. You have spikes on your hand. So it's very, like, it's also just not very armor-like. Obviously, it's a leather class, right? So it's not going to have the most amount of armor in the game, just thematically. But at the same time, it just feels light. It's just a little too light for a Demon Hunter set. But we go to the other color schemes, and the color schemes definitely give it the redemption factor, because it gives it this nice glow over the normal set, into the Heroic set. Obviously, you have your fire theme, into the Mythic set, which is the very common Demon Hunter Purple Transmog follow-up. So I think that this could easily be I could easily see this being a B or close to an A. But at the same time, just like You guys can't see it, but Sean's talking about it in the chat. The arms are open, and this is not an ideal scenario because that means you have to transmog bracers that have a higher coverage, because you can see these are the bracers here, not really giving you full coverage of the arms. So what you need is you'd have to get like I think it's fancy purple shirts, and then you'd have to wear that over here that would cover most of the arms from there to do it for that version of the set. However, I think that the elite version is also, once again, the probably best looking transmog color scheme for the Demon Hunter. Again, I'd like to also state out that they're doing the headdress theme pretty well with the Demon Hunter theme here. As you can see here, this goes all the way to the back, so it kind of nulls and voids any hair that your character may have naturally. And as an example, you can see that I use the long green hair for my druid, and because I use a helmet that cuts it off, it's going to instead have this headdress instead of your long green hair. So I think that that's a pretty good overall for the Demon Hunter one, which is why I'm gonna give Demon Hunter also the B. I don't think it's an A, but I don't think it's at the level of the Rogue one because of the other color schemes that are going on with the rest of the set. It's very defining, which is what Demon Hunter likes to be. They like to be there, and that's definitely what I see in this Demon Hunter transmog. And last, and probably also very least, is the unfortunate Evoker one. The problem is, right, Evokers are relatively new, and you're not going to make a Mog that you can't see 80% of the Mog anyway. So the problem is that the only thing on the Evoker set that has any level of definition are the shoulders, because the only thing you're ever going to see if you use it are shoulders and belt. And that is the worst thing about lizards, is that you're only ever going to see shoulders and belt. And honestly, I hate to give two things the F tier, but I definitely think that the Evoker set is an F. I don't think the Lizard set has any room being considered a set, because additionally, the shoulders are cool and all, but they're also really light. They're not like heavy shoulders, because they're just not there. There's a thing where it's like, you know, Evokers can't really transmog, but at least Worgans can still put clothes on. That's literally it. Worgans are probably the second worst model to attempt to try to make transmog for. And then you have lizards. So Evokers just can't really transmog. And that's why I have to say that this Evoker Mog is an F. Because there's just, the only thing you're going to see are the shoulders and belt. And the belt has no definition. It's not shiny. It's not colorful. There's no particle effects. The shoulders, they're literally the mage shoulders. In fact, they're the Firelands mage shoulders from Firelands. They're just with these runes instead. So I think the Evoker one is probably the worst outside of the Hunter one. So Hunter and Evoker are definitely in the F tier overall. Now there's one last thing I want to look at, which technically is not part of the Mog list, but we're going to include it anyway and use different icons here in our tier list to describe them. So, the plate version of the World Quest gear. Now, the plate version of the World Quest gear is probably, in my opinion, the best looking one, outside of the cloth one with specific color schemes. Now, this is the only reason we're going over these, is because these sets will probably look better than you wearing your Hunter tier for the next season. Looking at this now, obviously, though, like, the plate one probably has some of the better color schemes, while still being a very, like, plate-heavy set. It's still an open chest, but at the same time, it is just an open chest with the ethereal version of the opens part. The Aspirin gear is probably the best looking color scheme across the board, and as such, we're going to give this the Arms Warrior icon for the plate one. And I think that this is going in the C definition area. Obviously, there's not too much definition, but at the same time, if you want to look better than your Death Knight, I think that this is the outfit you're going to wear that's better than your Death Knight, because this just looks like better than the DK set. It has slightly more color definition, it has better color schemes overall across the board, and each one has their own little nice scheme to it as well. I'd say out of all of them, the Delve one is probably the worst, because it still keeps the same color scheme with your technical open chest on top of your actual chest armor. And then you have the rares, and then you have phase diving. Phase diving is probably the better color scheme as well. So, as I was saying, we gave this one the Arms Warrior icon, and I think that it is above the DK set in terms of literal transmog. Next, we're going to go into the male one, which the male one I feel is actually the breadwinner of the World Quest-based gear. because it is the best looking design, as well as having the most amount of flowy particles already existent on the set, being these shoulders here, as well as the belt in the middle here. This alone is definitely better than the Evoker set. And then going into the aspirant version, very good color scheme, very clean, very well cut, and very like out there for a hunter to wear. And then going into the phase diving one, once again, just better color scheme. It's stronger, it's more apparent. So we're going to give this one a let's see the other shaman spec here. We're gonna give this one the LE icon, and we're gonna put this one actually also in C. Because once again, if you just want to look better than the hunter, you're gonna wear this, because this is just strictly better than the hunter one. Next, we're gonna go into the leather one. The leather one, I think, was also the other breadwinner. I think I'm gonna give the leather one a B as well, instead of a C, because this one is very clean. I think it's also the only one that has a different chest color scheme to your open stomach to the rest of the set itself. Because as you can see here, most of them aren't super defining, but there's also the fact that the leather one has a slightly larger chest open area than the other sets do, especially if you're playing a female class, because, you know, you got a lot of stuff to cover up here. So overall, I think that this is also one of the better sets for leather classes. I think that you would wear this over a few of the leather classes. The monk one is definitely going to be trashed in comparison for the aspirant set. So for this one, we're going to give a boomkin icon. I'm going to put it in B, along with the actual druid set itself. I think that there's a world where you could combine both of these sets and use them under the same circumstance. And last, but honestly certainly not least, is the cloth version of the set. The reason why I feel like the cloth one is kind of a good one, but not really a good one at the same time, the helmet is probably the worst thing for the set. But at the same time, the different color schemes give it a little bit of a redemption arc. Your eyes will still remain the same amount of type color while still having a more particle effect on the back of the head. But at the same time, the rest of the cloth set is very clean and pristine. It's very open, and it's also one of the few sets that actually give you a literal look into the ethereal blood, more or less. You can actually see that that is the ethereal inline, and not so much of the ethereal outline itself. This is the only one where you can see that there's this little opening here that is part of the ethereal's original sort of skin, more or less. So I think that the cloth one goes pretty hard. The only thing I don't like about it, other than like the fact that, you know, it's open right here, is the fact that the helmet itself isn't really well designed, but the particle effects that pop off of the cloth one are very clean and pristine. Additionally, it has more definition to the shoulders, as you can see here with the Delve version of the set, as well as the Treasures and Outdoor versions of the set. Still no real definition to the lower cloth area, but still with other versions of the Mog, you could see the definition is there. It's just not super visible on the other ones. So I do think that the cloth one also goes pretty well, and in some circumstances it will be better than some classes, but I think every single cloth Mog this season for the 3 cloth classes have been pretty banger. So we're going to go ahead and put this one using the disc, or with the Holy Priest icon, putting it also in C. We basically put 3 out of 4 of the World Quest gears in C, with the 4th one being the leather one being in B. And I think overall, the Mogs have been pretty sleek this season. Obviously, I don't know what the Hunter art design team is doing, but they need to figure it out. The Evoker team needs to figure out how to make a Mog that'll actually work on the whole entire class, or just crash making Mogs for them in general and just give them other people's. The Monk character model guy, we gotta go back to putting monks with balls, alright? Like, monks like collecting nuts, alright? There's just no balls on this set. And every set that had balls on it gives Monk just that much better of a look. I mean, hell, comparing it even to last season, if we can actually find it in here, last season's Monk set wasn't even bad either, and there's no balls on it. It's just because it's Monk themed. It literally looks like it's the Monk set. Like, why wouldn't you use the Monk set? Why does it say I almost have the whole thing? That's a lie. I have the normal and LFR version right now. Oh, it's because I did testing on the Monk. Last season's Monk looks significantly better. There's no balls on it, but it's literally Monk themed. It's a Monk helmet. This is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. The Monk guy needs to figure out what's going on too. And the DK one is still a little weak, but it's not exactly the worst set either. It's definitely a solid D, but it's just not defining enough. There's no color scheme. There's no pop-off. There's nothing that grabs your attention immediately. And then jumping back over to the Rogue one, of course, because we're going from the bottom of the list. You can already tell what I'm doing here. The Rogue one has good color definitions for the right sets, but it's just also not very, like, it's not out there for a Rogue. Obviously, Rogues aren't supposed to be out there. They're not supposed to be, like, pretty looking. They're not supposed to grab your attention like eyeball candy out in the middle of the road. Nothing like that. There's just nothing that really hits this Rogue set that really irks, that brings it out for me. And then going back to our Shaman, the Shaman set, I think, is a good one. Again, I think the Gladiator version instead of the Mythic version has the better color scheme. And the Shaman one is definitely a good breadwinner next to the Druid one, which is also a very good headdress-based class that has a very clean set as well. Once again, the PvP color scheme, the better version of it, following up with the Demon Hunter as the same story. The PvP color schemes for the Demon Hunter one. Got some flood. The all the color schemes for the Demon Hunter one are nice. They're just not as open. They're a little bit too open. They're a little bit too revealing. And then, you know, the world gear. Following that with the last setup as well, the priest sets look pretty good. They're just not very priestly. They're not an S tier because of the fact that it's just not the priest theme, but it's still a very good priest set. I will say that it is still very good. And then going to the mage with our little roundup here, very clean particle effects, but this is definitely the breadwinner of the sets in terms of definition. Everyone's gonna try to get this baseline Gladiator one, and then the Warrior one as well. The Warrior one PvP color scheme, pretty clean, pretty pristine. Like it a lot. Obviously, change your hair color because green is not gonna work. That's gonna bleed through the helmet. And Night Elves always have this weird thing that half of their hair is still showing when you're wearing a helmet. And then the Paladin one, once again, PvP baseline Gladiator, best looking version of the Mog. Other ones look nice too, but like, this looks amazing. I love this one. And then of course, bouncing over to the breadwinner of the season is going to be the Warlock set. Every single version of the Warlock set is pristine. Every single Warlock version, every single color scheme, every single part about it, the Warlock is the best one. It's the breadwinner of this expansion. All right. I don't know how long the video is, but it's definitely been a long one. But yeah. Oh my gosh, it's a 37-minute video. Anyway, chat, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the 37-minute video of me doing thorough reviews on the tier sets. I hope you... I'm posting this to Reddit, so... it's probably going to bounce back pretty bad, but I don't really care. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time for some more World of Warcraft action. I'm going to give it the exact 8 seconds I need for it to be exactly 38 seconds long, including and excluding the outro that I'm going to be doing right now. So we'll see you next time for some more World of Warcraft actions. Party PD, signing off.